to be here, and welcome to my session. Once again, I'm Wojtek Kalicinski. I came here from Warsaw. I'm a GDG Warsaw organizer, and I'm also a Google developer expert in Android. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And the topic really is Android Wear, a new member of the Android family. You can think of this presentation as really an introduction to Android Wear, introduction to even starting to think about your apps, what you can make for the wearables. So let's start. And let's think why Android Wear came to life. And to do that, let's think a little bit back to when Google announced Google Glass. I don't know if you remember the original introductory videos where the engineers at Google said they built Glass to enable people to more easily engage in real-life interactions without looking at their phones all the time, taking them out of their pockets, and so on. So you can say Google Glass was the first foray into wearables for Google, but I guess it was. You can decide for yourself if Google Glass will be a success or was a success. One thing is for sure, Android Wear and the watches will be a more consumer technology, more oriented towards just regular users and not technology geeks. I hope so, at least. And so every one of you must have been in a situation like this, where you sit in a cafe or a bar, and all the people suddenly, or your friends suddenly, take out their phones and start just browsing, emails, Facebook, and so on. And there's usually this one person who's not a technology geek, and so she doesn't really have anything to do, right? She's completely disconnected from their friends, from her friends. And you can see it on this slide that when you're with your friends, with your family, and so forth, you take out the phone. This whole action of taking out your phone disconnects you from reality, and then you get lost in it completely. You take it out to check just one thing, like you have one notification, but then you think, I wonder what's on Facebook, I wonder what's on Google+, I wonder what's in my emails, and so on and so on. And so it's never one thing, so you get completely lost. And Android Wear was designed to mitigate this situation in a way that you can, even though you can have more interactions with your technology, with the notifications you get, but they don't really mess up your personal life, if I can say that. So yeah, Android Wear was born, and these are just some examples of the watches and screens you can see on them. We'll talk about that later. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the interface, not the hardware. If anyone wants to look up the specifications of these phones, the CPU type and so forth, you can just look at the Play Store or whatever page you may find. Today we are talking only about the interface. And to talk about it, let's go back a bit and think about our phones. If you have Android or iOS or Windows Phone, probably every one of you is used to having applications on your phone, right? There's some entry point, like a launcher or a home screen where you have these icons or tiles or whatever the current paradigm in launching applications is. And this is pretty normal on every phone we have. So what if we make a watch that's as powerful as our phones and has a touch screen and can have installed applications? And let's just scale everything down, right? Let's have the same launcher, let's have the same power, the same capability to run applications, and everything works, right? Great, we have Android on our hands. Only this is complete nonsense. No one would want to swipe through all the icons and choose applications and read like RSS readers or news or whatever on their watches. It's not for that. So even though Android Wear is part of the Android family and runs on the same core system, really on this slide only phones and tablets share the most with each other. Like they're both really designed to run just applications. And Android Wear, Android TV, and Android Auto are, you can say, completely different projects, even though they still have the same core and the real Android system. But the experience is more tailored for each device. So yeah, the interface. Fortunately, it looks like this, nothing like the icons I showed you before. And let's talk interface. So first of all, this is the home screen on Android Wear. I don't know if many of you might have not had the chance to use it before. And one thing you might notice is you have this sole one button for actions that's sometimes even not visible on many watch faces. So when you tap it, you get a list of actions. You can also say each action, just say it out loud, and you can activate it by voice. So this is how you interact with your watch. And the other thing is context. And this is the stream of cards that Android Wear presents to you. This is the way Android Wear communicates with you by showing you contextual information at a glance. And let's talk UX design. By the way, if any one of you is interested in user experience design and designing apps that really are nice for users to use, check out this hashtag on Google+. There's lots of cool posts for Google developer experts and Googlers regarding this topic. So to talk UX, let's think how we use devices, because you have to understand how users use devices to tailor the experience for them. So there's cloud. Cloud is not really a device, but it's a concept that we use daily, right? We use cloud a lot. So you use cloud to store things forever. If you want your photos, if you want never to lose your photos from your vacations and so on, you put them in the cloud. If you have some important documents that have to last forever, you put them in the cloud so that you don't lose them. Then we have the desktop. We usually sit at the computer or laptop. If you want to maybe do some long task or maybe look up some information, do some research regarding the last year, write a long document and so on. Then there's our phone. Last month, because we usually check our phone for, I don't know, the tickets we bought last week, flight tickets we bought during the last month, and so on and so on. And now comes Android Wear, and Wear is all about the now. You don't want to look up things on the watch. You don't want to browse documents or look for stuff. You can do that on the phone. The watch is all about the now. And here are a few tips that will help you think how to design applications for your watch. And the first thing is think actions, not applications. As I showed you, we don't have really an application launcher. Well, there is one, but it's hidden deep in the menus. So think actions, not applications. Think what a user can do with their voice or just a few simple taps that will make him happy when using your app. Second of all, make your apps glanceable. This is a word that Google uses in their documentation. So if anyone doesn't understand it, it really means that your app, the screen of your app, must be understandable at the first glance, right? I look at it, I see all the information I need, I can put it away. And by the way, sometimes just a look will be the only interaction of the user with your app. So keep that in mind. You know the saying, content is king. Like if an app wants to be successful, it has to deliver great content to you, to the user. So if, for example, you have you're looking for a recipes app, so you like to cook, you have to have really great recipes and be able to browse them and so on and so on. Well, that's not the case on the Wear watch. You don't really browse content on the watch. You can do this on any other device. On the watch, context is king. And you really want your watch and your apps to give you helpful suggestions only when you need them, and to give them automatically without any intervention from the user. So if, for example, I start cooking by using an app on my phone, please be sure to synchronize the status with the watch and show the recipe on the watch. I don't have to browse for it. It happens automatically, right? Next thing, one thing at a time. Remember, it's a nice rule. The screen is really small. You don't put a lot of buttons on the screen, on your interface. So remember to only put one action per screen. You can have more actions. The user can swipe right and left, but it's nice to have just one simple action per screen. And the 5-second rule, which says if a user needs to do some action and it's longer than 5 seconds, it should probably happen on the phone, because you don't want users browsing thousands of menus and options on your watch. If he needs to do something that's longer, it'll probably be just easier to take out the phone and just type some stuff in. And remember, always simplify. Don't make a very deep navigation structure. Keep the navigation flat. Also, if you can, just make choices for the user. Many people might disagree and tell you that Android is all about choice and the users being able to configure everything. That's true, but just think about the most used action your user will do with your app and present it to him on the first screen. Make this choice for him. Probably if he's listening to music, this action will be pause and play or next track. And that's it. And maybe make all the other actions available after a swipe to another screen. And here are some examples. This is a card from Google Now. Google Now, by the way, is all about context, so it fits perfectly to the Android Wear ecosystem. And first of all, it's contextual. It responds to my needs at this moment because it probably shows up around 5 o'clock when I need to drive home and tells me what the traffic is. Also, it's very glanceable. It's just very little text, an icon showing in green that there's no traffic. It's very glanceable, requires minimal attention. It's really a great solution. Here is navigation. So when I turn on the navigation, start driving home, I also don't have the whole map. I don't have the list of directions, just the nearest, most useful information for me, the nearest turn. Also very glanceable and easy to read. Here is an example of thinking in actions, not applications. So in Android Wear, if you want to send a message, you don't go into a messaging app, choose a recipient, and then type a message. You just say, send text to someone, and say out the text, and that's it. You just made an action. You just sent a text. So easy. And last one, I already talked about this a bit. Simplify, one action per screen, make choices for the user. I'm listening to music. I might want to pause it. If I wanted to like browse playlists and so on, I would do this on the phone. I don't want to do it on my watch. And a little bit about developing for Wear. There won't be a lot of code. There's a lot of documentation on the Google's Android developer website. But just to give you a quick recap of what you can do and what you can't do. First of all, there are two types of things you can do with Android Wear. First one is notifications. Every card in the stream can be a notification that's sent from your phone, synchronized with Android Wear. So if you post a notification on your phone, it gets automatically synchronized and no work required. There are some caveats. If you use any custom layouts, there might be problems. So remember to use the standard notification classes that are available in Android. Also, if you use the actions, quick actions for notifications that were introduced in 4.1, I think, I might be wrong, then these actions will be propagated, first of all, to the notification card, and then as separate screens when you swipe the notification to the left. So you get this for free, no work required. As I said, remember to use the standard notification builders, and not only the standard ones, but use the ones from the support library, because only they contain all the additional methods that are helpful when developing for Wear, such as setting some additional properties on the notification builders, like setting the background for your notification on your watch, or deciding if the actions you defined should only appear on the phone or on the Wear device as well. And there's some pretty neat stuff you can do with notifications on Wear that are not available on the phone. You can stack the notifications by grouping them. You can also add additional pages. So if you have a conversation like Hangouts has, you can have the first notification with just one message, and then add a second page that's longer and like gives you a history of all of the conversation. That's just an example. And the last thing, you can have voice replies. No coding required. You just really add an intent and some remote input provider to your notification, and you can reply to notifications by voice, which gets sent to your device as text. And on the phone, you can, for example, use an activity to send this somewhere or do whatever you want with the text. And finally, applications. Of course, you can install applications on the Wear. It's Android. It's the Android you know and love from the phones and tablets, but with a few additional things and a few things you can't do, which I'll talk about in a sec. So first of all, you have new APIs for data sync. It doesn't use any protocols, you know. It's just an extension made by Google, specifically for communication over the Bluetooth Smart or Bluetooth Low Energy channel between your phone and the Android Wear watch. You can make custom layouts, which I won't cover today, but Michał Teichert is here, who will have a presentation later about this. So you will know how to make custom layouts for your applications. And also you can add voice actions, which is really, you can add a trigger to your app that will enable you to say things like, call me a cab, or send a text, or set a timer, and this trigger will launch your application with the recognized text. And here are some things you can't do from an Android Wear application. So first of all, some packages are missing. You won't be able to implement a web view or several hardware-related things on the watch. These are rarely used packages. At least they are very specialized. So probably you won't miss them when thinking about apps for Wear. And also, you can't open sockets like to the internet. So you can't just download things over HTTP or any other method. That's where the data sync APIs come in. So anything you want to download from the internet has to go through an application on your phone. And it actually goes through Google Play services on the phone and on the watch. So yeah, you need to have a companion app on the phone to send and receive data from the watch and possibly pass it on to the internet. There's a cool library made by my fellow GDE, Mario Viviani from Italy. He made a library called Teleport that makes it very easy to pass this data from the phone to the device and vice versa. Because usually there's a lot of boilerplate involved and you have to set up a lot of things. This just makes it easier, so check it out and maybe help him out with development. So yeah, these are the things we covered. And if you want to know more, just go on the developer site. There's a ton of materials regarding UX design, designing views, and programming for Wear. If there are any questions, please. Questions? First.
So we know that notifications from our phone are synced to watch. Is there a possibility to create only watch notifications?
Yes.
Thank you.
First of all, you can decide using the notification builder, you can decide if a notification should, for example, not appear on the watch, or some actions might appear only on the watch and not on the phone, and vice versa. Or you can make an app that runs on the watch and posts notifications locally. So they don't get synced from the phone. You just have an app running on the watch, and you can post notifications as a normal application. Second question?
And my question about the main idea of the Android Wear. So is this device is just peripheral for your phone, or there are some scenarios when it
Yes.
looks like a separate device?
That's a very good question, and actually I didn't talk about the hardware side, but actually there are just new watches coming out right now which have GPS integrated, and also with the new update you can play music over Bluetooth without the phone. So the scenario is, for example, you load some music onto your watch, you connect your Bluetooth headset with the watch, and go running. The GPS data logs itself, you can listen to music, and then when you come back, you don't have to take your phone with you, right? You go for a run. And then when you come back home, when it detects your phone, it can, for example, sync the data to your social networks or whatever. So yeah, this scenario is already happening right now, and I'm sure you can think of many more in the future.
Okay. I have a question about developing. If we have triggered some word trigger, and the user has some applications or two or more applications that have
The same trigger.
the same word trigger. Is there how user or where this?
So you have a companion app on your phone that's called Android Wear, and it's used to control the settings of your phone, and also you can set a default application for handling such triggers. Also, one thing I haven't said, there's only a limited amount of keywords that are actually allowed, that you're actually allowed to use in your apps. So there's about 10 or 15 of them, like call me a cab and send a text. And Google is actively looking for applications that might want to implement something else. So you have to go and tell Google, look, I have a cool app, I want to use this voice trigger, and Google has to specifically add it to where. You can't have your own keywords.
Okay, I'm wondering, for example, if I have two different wearable devices, for example, casual watch or some sport watch, or even in the near future, some another wearable device. How my application can differentiate? And for example, I want to show notification just of one of them.
Okay,
devices.
so in the data sync API, you have node API and message API. So you can get all the connected nodes, and you can specifically target a single node when syncing data. I don't think this is possible with notifications, with the automatic syncing, but it's doable using the data sync, so just some more work. By the way, I'm not sure if from the other side, if you can have two watches connected to the same phone right now. I'm not sure. We will have to check that, but the API is there.
I've read quite a few articles complaining about reliability of connection between the Wear smartwatches and the hosting device. So what's your personal experience with that? Is it like reliable, and does it deliver what it said it should?
It's pretty reliable, but not always. So yeah, it can disconnect in the middle of doing something. Like literally, I'm typing out some text, saying something, and in the middle of the sentence, I see, whoop, disconnected, even though my phone is here. But if you're using the data sync API for syncing large blobs of data, you have like it's like a folder on a drive that gets synced eventually to the phone and to the watch. So if you're using that, you can be sure that after the phone and the watch regain connectivity, they will synchronize at some point. And then you get a notification like, oh, here's a new file that appeared on the watch. And you can use that for two-way communication even.
I have one more question. The question is, I heard that Google Wear can use special sensors, I mean temperature sensors, pulse wave sensors. What can you say about this? Is there some special API for using this or something else?
As I said, it's just Android, so it's the standard Android sensor APIs. If you're making an app that runs on the watch, you can just access the pulse, the heart rate sensor, and the gyroscope, and whatever you want. So if there is a sensor on the watch, you can probably access it the usual Android way. Yeah.
Any questions? By the way, I think Michael can tell us on his presentation about multiple watches, because he showed it on his workshop yesterday. So, no questions, yeah? And we should decide who wins.
Okay, my favorite question was about the offline scenarios when you don't have your phone, so the t-shirt goes to you.
Okay, guy from private bank, get new t-shirt. Okay, he is previously, because previously he also win in competition.
So was there any person who asked 2 questions or more? No? So let's think.
I think we should give him, because it's a competition.
Yeah,
so he win.
Yeah, I thought you said, I thought you wanted to say just someone else.
M? L?
Okay, thank you very much. You can catch me later.
Yeah, so thank you again, and we will hear